In the biblical tradition, chaos has a special connection to water. Not just water, but turbulent water. Surface waves whisked about by the wind that create danger for anybody who steps out into them or enters them in a boat. On the other hand, God, the divine, is the only one who seems to have the power, the authority over that chaos to bring calm where there are waves and where there is turbulence. We see that in the lesson to Job in the first reading. Remember, Job had lost everything. But God, the divine one, who knows more than Job does, brings him calm, brings him peace. In the gospel passage, Jesus does the same thing for his friends, the disciples. But I want you to take notice of a little detail. Most of the depictions of this event in the life of Jesus and the disciples have Jesus standing in the front of the boat, in the bow. But it's very clear, the gospel passage says he's in the stern, he's in the back of the boat, asleep on a cushion. How come? Well, some have speculated that the position in the back was a time when the disciples were fearful because of what was happening. And in the front, they had trust. They had finally come to faith in the divinity of Jesus and trust that he could help them. The part in the middle between the stern and the bow was the part of trying to figure out what they were going to do. It was their questioning, their fearfulness, before they finally came to trust in the power of Jesus. That power of the Lord to bring calm between fear and faith is something that he shares with us too. It might be good for us to think about things that bring us chaos, that bring us darkness, that threaten our peace. It can be any one of a number of things. It can be questions about faith. It can be anxiety over COVID-19, over the vaccine, over the lifting of restrictions. It can be suffering, the suffering that comes from illness or the illness of a loved one, or even worse, the suffering that comes from loss and death. It can be any of those things. It can be financial insecurity. It can be a peace and calm that's disturbed by shame and guilt as we wait the Lord's mercy and forgiveness for our sins. It can be the lack of direction in our lives. It can be fear about the fracture of relationships, the breaking up of families or of couples. It can be any of those things. The important thing is to remember that Jesus is in the boat. Jesus calls us to trust in him to help us. Jesus trusts in him to be there. We might use an example from fathers because it's Father's Day. Father knows best. It's the name of an old program, but it's true. Jesus knows best because he's the Son of God. That's true too. To show that he knows what's best, he calls us together tonight to stand around the table of the Lord and to receive that meal which brings us more peace than the world could ever promise. That meal that brings calm in the midst of the turbulence of the sea of our lives. That meal which promises peace no matter what we have to confront from one day to the next. So when we're in between the fear and faith, let us renew our trust in this loving Lord.